So in today's episode, I'm going to talk about Mercury retrograde. And it's really funny because I was just actually recording this and talking about Mercury retrograde and how it affects communication and electronics. And then all of a sudden it was like my dog was making noise out there. My phone started buzzing and everything went haywire and I had to like turn it off, regroup, and start over. So take two. And I had just finished saying and knocking on wood that Mercury retrograde doesn't seem to affect me very much. And this is the universe's way of always testing me when I make comments like that. But I've been seeing the question a lot lately because we are smack in a Mercury retrograde. And I am going to put out the caveat that I do not really totally understand this stuff, but I am learning about it, so I'm sharing it with you. And Mercury retrograde is supposed to, like I said before, affect communication, affect electronics. And I recently read, though, and I really liked this explanation of it, is that it is a cosmic do-over. I love that explanation because that is what I've been seeing people ask questions about, and that's what has been going on for me. And goes on for me at other times of year. So during Mercury retrograde, I don't even know. I have to now notice if this is something that comes up. But what I've been reading that is happening for people is that they are like coming against the same resistance again, coming against the same, seeing the same lessons present themselves, going through the same challenges that they thought they already had like resolved. And, and this is something that definitely happens for me throughout the year. It happens usually before full moons and during my period, oddly enough. And what I guess it's not oddly enough because what I have noticed is that it is your chance to release it. This stuff only comes up to be released. But what we normally do is shove it back down, try to control it, because it feels out of control to feel it, right? So we're going to shove it back down and be like, well, I don't want to feel irritable today. I have a lot of shit to do. And we stuff it down and then we don't feel it. And so then it comes up again. Every time it comes up, though, it's asking us to release it. And how can we release it? By feeling it. And so here is my answer to how to deal with Mercury retrograde, or anytime you're dealing with the same lessons over and over, because this is what I have seen so clearly. What happens to me, and I am making the blanket statement that I believe it happens to all of us, is that we have been taught to operate from a masculine perspective. So we have been taught to approach everything with a masculine energy, which is dominating, controlling, taking action, plowing ahead, pushing forward in the face of adversity. Yes, and all of that stuff is great. It's great to have that. But if you approach life only from that perspective, it's going to be unbalanced. And so what's the other perspective is the feminine perspective, the side that we are taught not to really use because it may show weakness. It puts us in a place of being out of control. And so the feminine energy side of approaching life is to do it with receiving, allowing, surrendering, nurturing, feeling, healing. So, but we are taught, don't cry, don't show emotion. So don't show that feeling. That feeling makes you look and seem crazy, bitch. So don't feel it. And what do? So we teach ourselves or follow the teaching to not feel this stuff and to keep doing stuff about it. We're going to do something about it. We're going to go to therapy, or we're going to shove it down, or we're going to go get a drink with our friends, or whatever, our own coping mechanism is. But those coping mechanisms are still approaching it from a masculine perspective. So when we continue to have these same lessons come up, we continue to see the same thing we've been working on, what we can start thinking about doing, what I have been practicing doing, is focusing on how I can bring more feminine energy to that side of my life, which usually means a lot less struggle, a lot less doing of anything, and a lot more like just, I was going to say throwing it to the wind, which is like what the masculine side of you would say that you're doing, but you're not. You are just simply opening. And you know what? Even if you were throwing it to the wind, here's the thing. All right, I'm going to give you a really visual, good metaphor. When the dandelion grows old and gets those little fuzzy things, and a breeze comes by, that dandelion throws its little baby fuzzies to the wind. And that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. It doesn't know where they're going to go. It doesn't know where they're going to end up. Can't control it. It just says, like, free yourselves. Allow this to happen. And by doing that, it populates so many more little dandelions that take over my yard. And my kids really love to pick for me. But drive me crazy. Not that I really care about weeding my yard. Anyway, we've gone off tangent though. But that's the whole thing, right? Like every time you feel like you relinquish control or allow something to happen, you're embracing that feminine side of you and are teaching, what society has taught us is that doing that is not productive. Okay? What I would argue is that doing that, though, maybe the word productive just isn't the word we're supposed to be using. Maybe the word we're supposed to be using for it is purposeful. That taking on the feminine energy is purposeful. When you allow yourself to feel, you allow yourself to heal. And so if we're not embracing the feminine energy, like, we can't release it. And from a psychology standpoint, anything that remains in our subconscious is going to actually rule our lives without us even noticing it. And so, so how are we going to deal with Mercury retrograde, guys, ladies, women's? We are going to do it. And men too. Whatever you call yourself. I don't even know. Like, why am I even labeling us? Because whoever it is, we have our masculine energy and our feminine energy. And I feel like when we bring balance to them, maybe there won't even be a difference between all these labels that we name our gender, right? But that's a conversation for a different day. What I'm saying is anybody can, when you embrace this feminine and this masculine energy, you are allowing yourself to let go. You're allowing these lessons to be, even saying we're allowing the lessons to be learned is saying it from a masculine point of view, but you're allowing the lessons to be learned you are simply allowing. And that's the beauty of it, right? When we take away the need for the productivity, we just are. We can just be. And that's everything, right? So, Mercury retrograde. I'm going to show you my boobies. And I got this thing. All right? That's how we're going to deal with it. I see you. I hear you. And I love you. Thank you for listening. And share this with a friend who is bitching about how she is having trouble with this Mercury retrograde. I'll see you soon. Thanks for listening. Bye. Mwah.